Hey, I'm Amber, and this is Grace Walk Farm. There is nothing like opening a jar of your own homegrown food to feed your family. For my family of 4, I have really worked hard to reduce our dependence on the grocery store and start producing our own food here in our backyard farm. On 3 acres, we're able to grow a large portion of our own food. As a matter of fact, we buy very little at the grocery store now. And thanks to home preserving, we have fresh food to eat even in the wintertime. So join me today. I'm going to take you on a little journey and show you the basics of home canning. Let's go to the kitchen. So what's the point of home canning? Why do you want to do all this work in the first place when you could really just freeze your vegetables? Well, the truth of the matter is some veggies freeze better than others, but things like green beans, for instance, the texture of frozen green beans is just something my family doesn't enjoy. And canning actually preserves the very freshest flavors of summer. So if you've never canned or eaten home canned food before, this is going to sound crazy, but if you would open a jar of some fresh tomatoes that you canned in the summer, you can open those in February. It will smell and taste just like it did in July. Canning locks in the freshest flavors of food and gives you the opportunity to eat garden fresh food all year long. So let's get started, and I'll show you to start with the 3 types of canning that are safe and approved. There are 3 types of canning that are currently tested and approved by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Now, there are plenty of other methods floating around on the internet. You'll find a lot of opinions about home canning when you dig into this topic. But if you want to be careful and stick with the safety guidelines, which is what I recommend, these are the 3 types of canning that you should rely on. The first type of canning that is recommended and approved is water bath canning. This is a water bath pot. It is nothing but a great big pot with a lid, and then you need a canning rack to sit inside. You can get a water bath canning kit that comes with your pot and your rack and your canning supplies, everything you'll need. You can purchase this on Amazon. I'll include some links with this video to get you started. But here is an example of a water bath canner. And water bath canning can be used to preserve lots of different things. You can use it for jams and jellies, pickles, tomatoes, anything with a high acid content like fruits. So water bath is a great place to start for an absolute beginner. It's the first kind of canning I learned, and it's the first type of canning I recommend for a beginner because it helps you understand the process. And honestly, it's not that difficult. It's kind of hard to mess up water bath canning. So we'll talk through the process in a bit more detail later, but this is what a water bath canner looks like. The second type of canner is called a pressure canner. And this is the one that tends to freak people out a little bit, but there's no reason to worry. A pressure canner is not as dangerous as a lot of people think. Pressure cookers, like your grandmother or great-grandmother used, did have a tendency to overheat and explode, and that's why pressure canning gets a bad rap. But a pressure canner is not the same thing as a pressure cooker. There's a very big difference. And with pressure canning, today's canners are made with lots of safety features. They have a valve that will pop out if the pressure gets too high to release the pressure so it doesn't explode. Accidents with modern canners are actually really, really rare. So once you learn to use a pressure canner, you can preserve practically anything. You can use this for green beans, for pinto beans or black beans. You can preserve squash, soups. You can even can meat with a pressure canner. Last but definitely not least, we have a steam canner. This is actually my personal favorite method of canning, and steam canning is kind of a newcomer to the scene. It was only recently tested and approved by the USDA, but as soon as I heard that it had gotten a stamp of approval, I ordered one because I wanted to test this out. You can use a steam canner in any recipe that calls for water bath canning and use the very same processing times. The advantage is a steam canner is a shallow pot and a big domed lid, and there's a rack in the bottom. And so you put 2 quarts of water, just 2 quarts, in the bottom of this canner, put your lid on top, And the steam that builds up inside is what causes your jars to heat up and seal. So while the water bath canner is going to require a lot of water and it's pretty heavy when it's full, this only requires a little bit of water, and so you can fill it quickly, it heats up faster, and it just makes the whole process a little bit easier. Highly, highly, highly recommend that you get a steam canner if you're looking to preserve food for your family. What supplies do you really need to start canning? There are lots of lists and ideas online that tell you all the things you'll need, but honestly, a lot of those tools are not all that necessary. So I'm going to show you just the bare bones minimum of what you need to get started, and then you can go from there. Obviously, you're going to need a canner. So I've shown you 3 types of canners. You can choose the brand that you prefer. I have my personal preferences of those canners linked in the resources for you, but I'm going to show you some other supplies you'll need. First and foremost, you're going to need jars, and you've got several options to choose from. You can do different sizes. You can do quarts or pints. You can even do a smaller size like a jam jar, or there are specialty size jars like this that I've canned some cayenne peppers in. You use whatever jars you like as long as they are rated for home canning. You're also going to need lids. Now, you can buy reusable lids, but they're a little tricky and not my favorite for beginners. So I would recommend the one-use lids. They are metal lids. It's a 2-piece system. It comes with a lid and a ring. And then depending on what kind of jars you have, it will depend which lids you need. So you can choose either wide mouth or regular, and I'm going to show you the difference. This is a regular mouth jar, and this is a wide mouth. Do you see the size variation? The actual size of the jar is the same. They're both a quart, but the opening is larger on a wide mouth jar. Now that comes in handy if you're stuffing things like pickles or green beans or carrots in a jar. The wide mouth is easier to work with. However, the regular mouth jars are often easy to find for pretty inexpensive used. I would recommend that you check Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, or just ask around. Ask your friends and family, post on your social media that you're looking for canning jars, and you might be surprised. I was able to stockpile several hundred canning jars just by asking around, and people started bringing me jars from their grandma's basement. It seemed like everybody had canning jars to get rid of once they knew I needed them. So don't buy them until you ask around, because you can reuse these jars as long as you clean them well and there's no cracks or nicks, especially in the rim. They're fine to use over and over again. Lids and rings. You're going to need a canner. You're also going to need a canning funnel. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these before, but it fits perfectly inside of a mason jar, and it just helps you fill your jars without making a giant mess. These are pretty inexpensive. You can get them for $4 to $5. Again, linked in resources. You're also going to want a jar lifter. Once these jars are in that hot canner, you do not want to try to reach in and pull them out. It's boiling water, and tongs are not strong enough to get the job done. You'll end up with broken jars. The way these lifters work is you take the rubbery part here that grips, and you pinch it down, and you can lift your jars like so. This is an easy way to remove hot jars from a canner without burning yourself. Again, pretty inexpensive tool. You can find these for about $8 to $10. Got those linked for you as well. Finally, you're going to want a good ladle. Invest in a good, big, sturdy metal ladle, because if you're doing a lot of soups or pickles where you're dealing with brines, you're going to want a good ladle that can make the process easier. So I've got one linked for you as well if you need a good ladle. But that's really it. You don't really need any other fancy tools. You might need a kitchen towel to put your jars on when they come out of the canner as they're cooling. But beyond that, you're just going to need your food to can, and you're ready to get started. So let's start canning.